what is the role of CFO in the new world?
The finance function is evolving to needing more up-to-date information quicker. Not only look at the financial information, but also the non-financial information. Yeah. Finance are increasingly being asked, instead of saying, oh, my variance is 10% off, it's like, why is my variance off, right? And you go, well, because the margin was down. Why? Because this area didn't sell well. Why? Because footfall was down because of the weather. Why? And so you have to break it down more and more.
Welcome to the Don't Panic, It's Just Data podcast, where we have a weekly conversation with people impacting the enterprise tech landscape. My name is Shubhangi Dua, podcast producer and B2B tech journalist at EM360 Tech. Today, I am joined by Pavel Dolezal, the CEO of Keboola, and Vineta Bajaj, Group CFO, Holland Barrett. We will be talking about how the modern CFO navigates data, financial intelligence, and emerging automation, how to move faster than traditional finance models allow, and prepare for a future powered by agentic AI. They particularly spotlight why every CFO is now a product owner of data as a result of the AI boom. Now, I'm handing over to Pavel and Vineta to introduce themselves and set the agenda for the podcast.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Pavel. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Keboola. And what we do at Keboola, we help CFOs with the data access. So the data is consolidated, integrated, always on time, and they can actually trust it. Today, I have here with me Vineta. She's a CFO of Holland Barrett, and we've known each other for 5 years?
A while, yeah.
Wow. And I actually met when Vineta was CFO of Rohli Group, which is one of the fastest growing, I think, groceries, like in the whole world. You went from $0 to $1 billion in like 4 years. And it was really interesting. And why we actually met today here, I've been recently meeting a lot of CFOs around the world. I just came from San Francisco. I met a group of 20 like big CFOs, and everybody seems to have still struggles with what is the role of CFO in the new world, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of challenges. There is AI coming, data agents, everybody wants to optimize and new data sources, and like, what is the role of CFO in coming age, and what are the problems that you actually see? Because like, I will then share later on what I've seen, and it seems that there is a common set of problems still going around.
Cool. Thank you for my introduction. I will introduce myself if the audience knows. So I'm Vineta. I'm currently Group CFO of Holland Barrett. My background is I spent 10 years in a company called Ocado Group, growing through the business to holding various finance director roles, growing the business from to multi-billion from 1 country to 12 countries. I ran a huge part of the finance, the back office. I then moved to, like you said, Rohli Group, and Rohli Group are, yes, definitely one of the fastest online grocery businesses in the world. When I joined the business was about a 500 million revenue business, and in the 2 years, or 2.5 years, I grew it to a billion revenue business. We got nearly cash positive, raised $170 million on an up-round valuation of $2 billion, M&A. We're in multiple countries. And now I'm Group CFO of Holland Barrett, which is a 1 billion revenue business as well, with about 1,400 stores, UK, Ireland, Europe, so Benelux, and some international partnerships as well. So online and retail is the industry that I work in, which basically means that retail really is detail, that's what they say. But then that means that the pressures of the finance team is a lot more, right? So when you talk about problems, and if I think about the 3 areas, the 3 businesses that I've worked in, and it's funny, as you go into different companies, you kind of have your checklist of are these the problems that still exist here, right? And I think most seasoned finance professionals will tell you that it's kind of the same things. It's month end is hard, things take long, duplicate efforts, duplicate processes. That's always one thing, which is around process. The other thing is reporting is not, it takes 5 days, 10 days. Why do I have to get my report on day 10, 15? Why do I have to wait for my finance team to produce that? And then thirdly, it comes down to, how can I make decisions quicker, and what's the right data, right? And so those are the 3 common areas. And when you look at them, And it sounds kind of lame saying, oh, the month end, right? But actually, if finance teams are waiting until workday 10 to get a report, then if you step back, you go, well, actually, if the month end is quicker, the report gets out quicker.
And you get more cash, you can manage it, right?
Absolutely. And the finance function is evolving to needing more up-to-date information quicker, so the business can move quicker in this evolving age of, especially in retail, how customers are changing how they shop. You need to have live information of pricing. You need to understand that if I was to drop my margins or change my product suite, what would that do to my revenue? So often what happens is the finance team is being pushed to have multiple scenarios thought about even before the first meeting. And when your processes and everything that runs the machine of finance is slower, and the finance team is lagging behind the whole business.
Well, what I hear actually, those are like big problems I hear actually all around the world.
Great.
But when you said like multiple processes,
So we haven't cracked it yet. Great.
Yeah, well, I might have a solution for you.
Oh, do you? Okay, cool. Tell me more.
You are. I think we've cracked it together, and with Tomáš at Rohlik, it was like awesome. But like when you say multiple processes, you mean within one kind of like company, or when you have multiple countries, or when you do M&A, or like you have a different chart of accounts, or?
Oh, it's all of it, right? Like, I mean, the thing is, I think the first step is just the basic process of, if I'm a very simple UK-based business or a country-based business, having one set of chart of accounts going, what is that process? When do I close my month, my AP, my AR, my ledger close? That's one. That's like easy mode, right? Then if I was to have multiple entities, I might have multiple chart of accounts. Then I might have an outsourced accountant that then has a different chart of accounts, right? Then I go, oh, well, I'm going to go to a different part of the country, or I want to have a new product suite. That product suite will need a different set of
and
ways
then you have
to
a business
it.
KPI which doesn't match the chart.
Exactly, and finance teams are increasingly being asked to not only look at the financial information, but also the non-financial information. And in the current world where the businesses are using Metabase, Tableau, or different ways to get non-financial KPIs, finance are increasingly being asked, instead of saying, oh, my variance is 10% off, it's like, why is my variance off, right? And you go, well, because the margin was down. Why? Because this area didn't sell well. Why? Because footfall was down because of the weather. Why? And so you have to break it down more and more, but you can't do that if you're just looking at a financial number that goes, oh, well, variance is up 20%. Okay, I mean, that tells me the sum of nothing, right? And that's why the finance teams, when you talk about process, it is effectively what a finance function needs to do, and what a CFO needs to do is, before you try and understand how you can service the business, you have to look at your entire finance team and the tech around that as a product. And really, for me.
Well, when you say product, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, right? Because if I say a product owner, people, I think a lot of people have a lot of different. It's a topical thing, right? I think a CFO or a very senior person in finance or a senior finance leader needs to be a product owner. And a product owner, in my definition, I'm going to probably anger half the world now, is someone who understands their product, which for me might be financial intelligence, might be my ERP, whatever that might be.
So it's kind of like an end data product, right?
Yeah, absolutely, right? So I understand that's my product. I own that. I understand the problems. I understand what my users want. I aggressively prioritize my problems to have the biggest impact. I own my roadmap, and then I deliver. Now, it's really interesting because I'm in Holland Barrett now, which is a 100-year-old retailer. I've never worked I've worked in businesses that have been maybe 20 years old max. Rohlik was 10 years old, and Okada was only 14 years old when I joined. So I've never worked in a very old business, right? And it's interesting because what you hear from people is things like, I'll get a project manager and then they will tell me the problems. And actually the problem right now is the CFO does not have a direct opinion about what this should look like. And if I'm a leader in the finance function, I need to know how my product will service my customer, which is the business.
The business.
And the answer isn't putting a tool on it. It absolutely is, but there are 3 steps before that, which is the very classic process map, standardize, automate. But the key thing here, which is what we've done, is look at the data, right? What I've been really fascinated about is that people and finance people, when I say, well, how do we define this data? They'll go, oh yeah, well, the tech team have the definitions. I'm like, great, so why don't you know the definition? Like, you should know it. So
basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I would add one more step to it. It's a famous Elon Musk step, like once you have a process, a map, take out something, right? Because like people just like put a lot of things into one pot and then it doesn't taste good. So like, if I understand correctly, you're saying that the CFO should own the product, the data product, because like they know what they want and they are the ones who should take out things, right? Because other people just like put them in, right?
So I agree, and yeah, I mean, we're going to go into this very theoretical topic now, which is where does master data sit in an org, right? And normally it's a dinner conversation, right? So I think some people say master data sits in the data org, and the data org sits maybe in tech. But then, so that's one way to do it. But actually, who makes decisions off that data? People are now increasingly using it with financial and non-financial information. And actually, what should happen is that finance should technically own master data, but obviously the business owners, commercial and operations will define that. Yeah. But then it means that when you're bringing out your real-time financial intelligence, your dashboards, your reporting that's sitting on top of all your finance data lake that has financial and non-financial information, then when you go to the operations person, they go, that KPI is wrong. It's like, you define the data, right? Like, I'm just reporting on your data. So what happens is you have the source of truth from the ERP or your normal classic finance processes, but then you have your non-financial information that answers the why,
so you connect the whole user journey, basically, right?
Absolutely.
But this is a change. I remember like 20 years ago, like in
I don't remember 20 years ago, but go on.
Yeah. Thank you. In the large banks, like usually data warehouse would be with finance, right? And then it changed and went to IT. But you're saying like now it should come back under the CFO, right? Why? Is it because of the age is changing, because of the pressures on efficiency, because of the agents are coming, or why?
I think there's two parts. I think the first thing that I've witnessed is when things sit in IT, there is a natural human instinct for the entire business to go, oh, IT do that, right? And actually, data-driven decision-making is extremely important now more than ever. Yeah. So when you say, just examples I've seen are people going, oh, well, IT have that dashboard, or, I'll get BI to run that for me. I'm like, why is that not self-serve? Because you need to have that information at your fingertips. So I think there's an ownership point from the business that when something sits in IT, it's like, oh, that's IT, and that's like the reason why they choose not to own it. And then it becomes an IT problem, right? But actually, if you want a business to move fast, and to have that information, actually putting it in the area that helps you make decisions. So there's two ways to do it. It either sits in finance, or it sits in each of the different functions where they own their data, and then you just have one person who's kind of a master data owner that sets the principles. That's one way to do it.
That's data mesh principle. I have to say, like I've never seen it, like the classical data mesh as defined to actually be working. What I've seen, as we work around the world with medium to large companies. And what works, what I've seen, is that when the data sits with CFO or CEO directly, because those are two people who are like literally, incentivized to make a good financial decisions, and they don't have their, departmental, priorities only, but they have a company-wide priorities. So this is actually interesting that you say that it's kind of changing, but okay, so let's say the CFO is a product owner for data, right? Because they know what they want. They should be.
They absolutely should be, right?
But it's a nice vision, right? But CFOs are usually not technical. So how do you get there? Because it's not only I want to own data, right? I want to own as a product. I have an opinion. I know how it should look like. Guys, this is what we should do, and if you want me to service you, I need this and this. But how do they get there?
Yeah, great question. God, I feel like this is an interview for like a job or something. No.
I have a scorecard.
But it's a really good question. I think the answer is it's classic: process map, standardize, automate. That's number one, right? So in Holland Barrett, for example, the first thing I've done is I've created a data org in finance, right? Yeah. So that's the first thing. I was like, I don't have someone who owns master data. I want to own it, but I have a very large remit. I can't. So I need somebody who thinks like me, who's going to basically own that, right? So that's really key. I think the other thing is for the CFO to unleash the power of data, annoyingly, it's two parts. It's making sure your process works and your data is defined, right? So where you have financial intelligence tools that allow you to drill down, there's no point drilling down if the drill down gives you 5 reverse journals because someone had to repost something because the PO was coded wrong. So there's two parts to data. One is actually making sure the end-to-end classic finance process works. So, compliance of POs, shortened month end, good quality data going into the systems.
Forecasting.
Absolutely. Then having the data definitions defined. And then effectively, once you have all those, it is effectively creating a data lake. Now that sounds kind of scary. People are going, oh my God, data lake, that's a tech thing, right? But actually it's just getting all the sources of data, which can be your ERP, because the whole purpose of an ERP right now is just a data repository that you just need to have for auditors, right? Well, that's exactly it, right? So if you treat it like that, you go, well, it's just a data repository. I have a bunch of Google Sheets or SharePoint sheets. I have my Metabase or my Tableau. I have all these business KPI inputs that the business uses for these 5 things. Here's my vendor management portal that provides me with this information. And then you basically get an operating system that sits over it that basically coordinates in unison. But ultimately, if the data definition it's just not defined or owned, then all you're doing is paying for somebody to sit on top and it won't work, right? And I know Keboola have that, but the thing is, for Keboola even to be successful, and we've obviously done this before,
the layer below
has to work, right? Otherwise then you've just got this mountain of crap and you've got this really shiny tool. And it's interesting because for a CFO, and I take this quite seriously actually, and I'm sure a lot of finance people will resonate, finance is known to kind of push spend away. So the business always looks at finance when they finally ask to spend money. And they go, oh, what's your business case?
Now show
and
me.
What's your ROI? And are you going to be in budget? And are you going to be on time? So they take it quite seriously. Right? And so it's really important the building blocks are put in place. But, I know that, I've worked in lots of businesses, but when we did in Keboola, having the partnership where not only understanding the problems, but understanding the tech problems in a way to non-tech people is actually quite powerful for the team in Keboola as well.
Well, this is kind of like, thank you, but this is kind of like what you say.
You're
is
welcome.
kind of like several steps, and you're right. I see like the finance people are great because like they, in other departments, they would have several metrics and they don't care about money. Well, they do, but like not so strictly, right? Because
unfortunately they don't.
But like when you go to finance, people are like, okay, so this is our process. This is the metrics, and they are, the finance metrics. And from there, we can go below, like what are our data structures looking like, and what do we need to integrate, right? So you get those layers, and you get the metadata, for that, and you do it correctly. But by the way, it's not easy because, like, especially in the larger companies, you might have 2 different implementation of SAP in 2 different countries. So like we would have clients who would have like 10, 15 countries, and they will have 60 systems.
Of course,
it's hard to put it together. But once you do that and you automate all of that, all your data is clean, all of the metrics are actually, like you understand them, and then you use it for reporting. By the way, this is the prerequisite also for AI. Because like if you want to use AI, and I would love to know your opinion, because I've seen that there are 2 schools of thought, like basically I would say Europe and US. Like in Europe, like no, it's still not good, we can't use it, it's not 100% good. And in US it's kind of like wow, like so many AI tools, we want to use them, we want to be effective, but
it's in the middle, I think, right? So I think for me it's so I'm a very big user of AI, and I'm not saying ChatGPT because that's just basically Google effectively now, right? I think it's about, the movement of AI is just forcing finance teams to just move quicker to understand, because there's no point getting lots of amazing shiny tools if the data is crap, right? And you can only use AI to manipulate the data if you have your data definitions. Like, literally, like no one can there's a human input that's required that ultimately eventually will remove the human from the process, which makes finance people happy. But I think it's a fantastic way to force speed at solving these problems, is what I would say. But I think it's really, again, if you put the hat on of being a product owner, it's what is the problem I'm trying to solve?
And for whom?
And exactly for whom.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, if I was to summarize like where I think, the challenges are, I think it really is, if I was a finance leader right now, which unfortunately I am, I would say it's, I think every CFO should be a product owner, but go deep and understand, not hire 5 people to then tell me what's going on.
Tell me. Yeah.
Go down and get a whiteboard and draw it out and understand and get the right people in the room and do a 2-hour meeting and just go tell me the problems and go deep pretty quickly to understand the root cause. I think, so being a product owner, I think, owning, if not business master data, finance master data, and lead by example. And then I think the third thing is, I think it's really key that every finance team needs to have some kind of a data warehouse or data lake, right? Because then I can bring in tools like Keboola that we did use before, that allows me then to make my decisions a lot quicker, right? But I think for me, leaders should look at what their process is, how they define the data, to then take that step either at the same time or after with Keboola. And I'd love to know, what's on the Keboola roadmap now, and how I can input into it.
Well, I'm happy to show you afterwards, but well, if I can summarize what we talked about. So Vineta is saying, and I agree with that now CFOs should be the product owners for data. Because like CFOs ultimately understand the company, they should have an opinion how it should be run, how a company makes money. They should be able to connect financial and non-financial data so they can actually model the whole customer journey. They can understand, scenarios. They can save money and actually earn money by having data
all the money.
faster. All money. It's all about money. It's business. And yeah, that's basically it, but that's a changing role because like once you treat data as a product, then you can actually use it because like you can use it for other things, like you can put AI on top of that. And this is like what's on our roadmap. We actually are launching an AI assistant for finance people.
Oh, great.
Yep. But like it's a long journey because like first you need to make sure that, as you said, your data is in check. Once you do that, we can then put a AI assistant which helps you with analysis, which helps you with scenarios.
Great.
And we achieve over 80% on BERT scores, which is a lot, which means, like it actually works. But like what we do differently, we don't just like let you guess if it works, right? We always link it to the underlying data. So you can go all the way.
Which is exactly what you need for me, even because then I want to make sure that it's right. So, like, I mean, that's really great, and that's why I've always been quite happy with Keboola, and we'll continue to be happy about it.
Looking forward, like to the future. I think this is like really exciting, and yeah, let's go.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pavel and Vineta, for joining us today. I really appreciate you coming on. Also, thank you to everyone listening. We hope you took a lot away from today's podcast. For further information on what we've talked about, please head over to Keboola.com. We'll be back next week with another episode in our podcast series. Until then, make sure to subscribe to this podcast on all major platforms and follow the conversation on our socials at EM360 Tech on X and LinkedIn. And for more great daily content, please head on over to em360tech.com. Thank you so much.